It wasn't a roast in any traditional sense, but that did not stop President Joe Biden from getting some laughs at a fundraiser in Dallas last night. And this was the joke that killed. Quote, just the other day, a guy came to me and said, Mr. President, I need your help. I'm being crushed with debt. I'm completely wiped out. I had to say, Donald, I can't help you. As the saying goes, it's funny because it's true. Donald Trump's financial situation is not pretty. There's that looming $500 million bond due on Monday, the $91 million bond he posted for the E. Jean Carroll defamation verdict, not to mention the staggering penalties themselves in both cases. The bills, they are slowly and in some cases quickly coming due, and they are big, huge amounts of money. And it's not just a problem in terms of money going out. It's also a problem in terms of money coming in for the disgraced ex-president. And notably, while Donald Trump was being turned down by 30 surety brokerages and looking for $500 million bonds between the couch cushions, President Biden was quietly building up a $40 million advantage over the Trump campaign, more than double the $33.5 million in former President Donald Trump's campaign account. That is quite the split screen. We are back with David and with Tim. David, here is how the New York Times puts it. Quote, Mr. Trump's legal battles have been a drain on his overall election funds. He faces 4 criminal indictments along with civil cases, which are proving costly. Last year, committees backing him spent at least $50 million on legal expenses, and those costs are likely to balloon as he prepares for potential trials this year. The point is, David, he's already in a financial crunch, and then you have the bills piling up.
Yeah, and I guess the gold tennis shoes didn't sell so well because he also doesn't have places to find revenue other than the Republican National Committee and the different committees that should be working to elect Republican candidates, including Donald Trump. And part of putting Laura Lee, his daughter-in-law, at the RNC was to make sure that they can continue to siphon off resources from Republican activities instead for Donald Trump's legal bills. That is bound to happen. And, as we discussed in the previous segment about, so why won't his rich friends bail him out? Why won't people give him money? Because, frankly, in the political space, nobody wants to give money to the RNC just to pay Donald Trump's legal bills. They want to get Republicans elected. And in this case, that's not where the money is going. Donald Trump and Republicans are in a lot of financial trouble going into November. Joe Biden and the Democrats are firing on all cylinders, and we'll see that play out for the next few months.
That's exactly the point, which is it's not just Donald Trump. Right? It is now the Republican Party. It is all those down ticket races that we're going to be relying on the RNC, their infrastructure, and their dollars that are now going to be depleted by Donald Trump.
Every candidate who surges in either party has a right to leave their imprint on their operatives. The RNC should be at the disposal of the leading candidate, but that candidate should have the interest, as you note, and as David correctly noted, should have the interest of both the party itself and then down ballot people running in for the Senate and the House, et cetera, et cetera. And Donald Trump's never had any concern, even prior to this, for down ballot candidates unless they were there as loyalists to him. I think one of the other interesting things so far in the campaign donation data, and we're early on, this is going to be a long slog. We'll probably be talking about this in August and September. But he seems to be bleeding small dollar donors. And I think that's very interesting because the argument for Trump was he had such an incendiary impact on average voters that they made up for the fact that institutional Republican money avoided him. And basically, I think in the primary season, you saw that most institutional Republican dollars in the end tried to go to Nikki Haley. And that meant Trump was even more dependent on the small dollar donors. And those are the people that gave money into his PAC that he spent on his legal defense after January 6th and since then. And maybe they've gotten wise. And if they've gotten wise, that's a warning sign for him.
Yeah, politically it is.
It's a very big warning sign politically. It's the financial equivalent of him bleeding voters to Nikki Haley at the 20% to 30% level, even after she's dropped out of the race.
Here's a reminder you do not need, but is worth throwing out there, which is that his financial troubles are not new. I want you to take a listen. This is from the Fox News Republican debate in 2015.
Trump corporations, casinos and hotels have declared bankruptcy 4 times over the last quarter century. Question, sir, with that record, why should we trust you to run the nation's business?
because I have used the laws of this country, just like the greatest people that you read about every day in business have used the laws of this country, the chapter laws, to do a great job for my company, for myself, for my employees, for my family, etc. I have never gone bankrupt, by the way. I have never. But out of hundreds of deals,
but sir,
excuse me,
that's your line, but your companies have gone bankrupt.
Okay, so appreciate the fact check there at the end. But I also think it is interesting, Tim, that there's a little bit of, he told us, he bends the system to his will.
And therefore he's successful. So no, 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 and no again. Donald Trump couldn't make money running a casino. Casinos are cash registers, right? We could probably do that together, Alicia. We could go to a casino.
I do need a plan.
And make a little bit of money. Great. Yeah, we'll pay for your kids' colleges. He couldn't do that. He went into Atlantic City. He had one of the best locations. He got in there early, and he still put it into bankruptcy. He's a serial bankruptcy artist because he is undisciplined financially. He has this endless appetite to acquire more, even when he doesn't have the money to do it. And he's simply not disciplined. He personally guarantees loans when he shouldn't. And then rather than simply say, you know what, I learned from my past mistakes, I come into the White House with more financial discipline than I had as a private citizen because I've been through the fire. Instead, he says, yeah, I got away with it. I screwed up. I went into bankruptcy, and you know what? The laws protected me like so many other people. But classically successful business people do not make a habit out of touring through bankruptcy court like it's going to Disneyland, and he did.
David, if you want to get cut in on this casino deal, I don't want you to feel that because you weren't here with us on set, it wasn't offered to you as an option to get in at the ground level. Let's talk about the split screen that you have here, because you have Trump with, bleeding money, and then you got Biden quietly raising a ton of money. That matters, right? Sometimes we get into sort of the optics and this and that. At the end of the day, campaigns run on these dollars. Ads run on these dollars. Those yard signs that everybody likes to complain about, they pop up in yards with those dollars. Right. It is hard to get over that structural disadvantage. It also is huge for the Biden campaign that they will have this cash advantage.
Oh, that's exactly right. And you can say that Donald Trump might survive more than other candidates in this financial problem when it comes to campaign resources because of his, 100% name recognition and image. However, where resources really do matter in this race is the ability of Joe Biden to micro-target and data target, say, the 8% of American voters that he needs that will decide this election. His ability to outspin Donald Trump in the electoral college states that he must win. Joe Biden will go at this with a massive advantage. And I would also say on messaging, the idea that we talked about with Harry about whether or not Donald Trump is a successful businessman or not. The fact is Donald Trump was born on third base and stole second. And that is a message that Joe Biden can share with voters. Now, I think the other message that comes into frame here is how desperate Donald Trump is right now to win this election and why that should terrify all of us. He is facing enormous civil judgments. He is facing criminal trials and now possibly personal bankruptcy. Where does he go if he loses? I mean, he's in a lot of hurt if he loses, and he should be in a lot of hurt if he wins, but he sees it as his ticket to absolution, and that is what is making him so desperate right now. Donald Trump knows he must win this in November.